Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars, and today I'm going to do another classic movie review, and it is the 1992 movie Kuffs that starred Christian Slater and Mila Jovovich. This was a movie that to be honest, I'd almost completely forgotten about, and I was reminded about it the other day, and that's what kind of inspires me to do these classic movie reviews. I was reminded of it and I rewatched it and I loved it. I remembered having this on VHS and then probably DVD throughout the 90s, and I just remember watching it over and over and thoroughly enjoying it. Um, it's basically a movie about Christian Slater plays a guy called Kuffs, who George Kuffs, and he's a bit of a. At the beginning of the movie, you see him dancing with his girlfriend, Mila Jovovich, who one of her early roles. I mean, she's very young in this, but very good. And he basically it's a bit of a layabout, really. And he goes to bum some money off his brother on his birthday, on his brother's birthday. And his brother owns like a police district in San Francisco, which is not like the real police. It's like where civilians can buy parts of a district and run it as a police officer. And his brother owns this district. And his brother's entangled up in some like criminals, and he ends up basically getting killed, his brother. And George, Christian Slater, George Kuffs, he's no idea what to do. He's really upset. Obviously, his brother's just been killed, and he decides to take over his district. But he's like 21 years old. He's no police training. He has to go to the academy during the day and then patrol on an evening. But his only motivation really is to catch the people that killed his brother. Now, what makes this film unique is not necessarily the story, because it's a fairly run-of-the-mill story really here. What makes this film unique is mainly Christian Slater, who was at the time when this film was made, was on the brink of being, I think, a megastar. I remember thinking at the time. I mean, at the time he was like being written as the new Jack Nicholson, and it made Heathers, which was a big hit in the 80s. And this was another one, and everyone was really starting to take notice of Christian Slater. And if you kind of like, really, because there's nobody these days. If you really want to know how good Christian Slater was and how much potential he actually had, go and watch this movie Kuffs, because his screen presence and his screen charisma just oozes all over this movie. He's absolutely superb in this movie, and I mean, these days it's very easy to call a movie like self-aware or ooh, that's really meta, and self-aware. Well, this was, they were doing it for years in movies in the 80s and 90s, like Ferris Bueller, and films like this, Kuffs, where he actually talks to the audience throughout this movie, Christian Slater, but it doesn't feel weird. It just feels absolutely right and natural and funny. He's so funny when he does it. Some of the comments that he makes, um, it it feels really unique the way this movie is set out. Everything it tries to do this movie, it succeeds at. It succeeds with the comedy, very much so. It succeeds with the comedy. It's very funny at times. It succeeds in the action, very good action when it does the action parts, and it's even got a really interesting love interest story between him and his girlfriend, Mila Jovovich, who they've got really good chemistry together, and you actually care throughout this movie if they actually end up together. They just set it up nicely, which a lot of movies forget about these days. They just don't do it very well. So everything this movie does, the comedy, the action, the romance, even the drama at times, it succeeds at. But it's never completely in your face throughout all of it. Christian Slater's performance is great. Mila Jovovich's performance is great. Tony Goldwyn, who you may remember from Ghost and things like that at the time, he was very good in this movie. He kind of plays like he's almost becomes his partner, Christian Slater's partner throughout the movie. And he's very good in this movie, very funny too. Some of his reactions are priceless. I can't recommend this film highly enough, really. It's a really, really good movie. If you've never seen Kuffs, watch it for a lot of different reasons, but mainly because it's a very, very good movie. And it still stands up superbly today. Another deserved mention here is the soundtrack. It's an absolutely cracking soundtrack. And it was done by Harold Faltermeyer, who did like the Beverly Hills Cop music, things like that. It really is a standout soundtrack. Very, very good indeed. So I have to say, this is a highly recommended movie. One of those early 90s movies that pretty much is fairly forgotten these days, but it's one that you really should seek out and watch, because it's one of those movies that when you're finished watching, it's completely harmless, but you will definitely have a smile on your face.